This normally takes some time.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. We are here today with our November edition of the Women Engineers Pakistan monthly webinar. और आज का topic बहुत ज़्यादा interesting है, especially because a lot of young women have asked me this question repeatedly, and I've been really, really eager to talk to somebody who's an expert in such decision-making processes so that we can really sort things out. Let me first introduce our speaker. Saba Malik is an assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science at FAST, Islamabad Campus. She was recently here in the US, Houston, Texas, for one of the largest conferences in the world for women in STEM fields, the Grace Hopper Celebration. And she is also a proud recipient of the very prestigious TechWomen Award, where, by the way, during her fellowship, she was mentored by folk at Lumosity, and I'm sure we'll ask more questions about that. Let me just very quickly introduce the topic of the webinar today, and then we can move forward with the conversation. So like I said, a lot of young women in Pakistan, specifically, we try to cater to Pakistani audiences within our conversations, because while these questions arise to every young graduate, I'm certain, circumstances are a little bit different for women in STEM fields in Pakistan. So what I'll do is I'll try to make it as tailor-made as possible. So there are a few questions that we repeatedly see women asking, okay, how important is higher education? Or should I really go into a master's program with right after I complete my bachelor's, or should I wait and get some job experience? And then it's like a chicken and egg question that all workplaces or all job roles require some experience, whereas which do I get more benefit from? Also, what is the right time for opting for a graduate education? So let me first lay the ground on this conversation, is that this is entirely subjective. Also, none of these things are mutually exclusive, because they really play into our lives, and how we proceed with the decision-making process is entirely upon our circumstances. With that, Saba, the floor is yours. I will be asking you a couple of questions here and there. थोड़ा बहुत conversation को guide करेंगे, लेकिन you take the reins, please. And I would like you to introduce yourself more to our audiences
Okay.
as you start.
Okay. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It is actually a pleasure talking to all of you through this platform, and it's amazing to see so many girls related to each other, related to STEM, engineering in particular, computing, and all other professions that we rarely see women are joining in Pakistan. And even amazing is when we see all these girls are raising questions about their future prospects, when they are already raising questions for their career goals, when they are trying to make a balance between their personal and professional life. It's definitely amazing, because talking about all the settings and all the nourishing stages they had followed in their life, they are coming with these kind of questions. That is actually very much amazing. And also it is one of the fact that the kind of environment we are living in, and the kind of competition that we are having with the rest of the world, this is the kind of information that we should be seeking
Bilkul.
to go forward. So for that matter, we need to know our challenges, we need to know our values, and we also need to know our strengths. And we need to keep a good balance of all of these things to exploit most of the options for a betterment of our family values, and of course for our nation in the totality of the scenario.
100% agree with you. I would like to start the conversation with, like you mentioned, the scenario is really different with when we talk about Pakistani audiences especially, क्योंकि
बिल्कुल
यहाँ पे it's not a matter of choice within STEM fields. A lot of decisions that we make, men and women alike, by the way, for
ट्रू
Pakistan are based on the economics of the
बिल्कुल
decision. हम STEM fields में ज़्यादा अगर मर्द हजरात जाते हैं तो वो इसलिए मोस्टली नहीं जाते कि उनका दिल चाहता है, वो इसलिए मोस्टली जाते हैं क्योंकि it used to be a guarantee of
the
a
professional track
exactly a sound professional track that will have a good reliable amount of income.
बिल्कुल
But things are changing quite a lot and I think we're still stuck in that थोड़ी सी पुरानी बातें. So first let me ask you, do you think that success a lot of so this is actually a personal question as well. ठीक है, classroom में we saw that there were these few people who used to score 4.0s. ठीक है, बिल्कुल A stars लेते थे वो. But then this exact same people were plucked out of academics and put into a job role and they didn't do as well.
That's very
ठीक है.
true.
So again, I would like you to maybe shed some light upon how is this connected?
Okay. When we talk about our education system, it's entirely based on grades. It's entirely based on the learning curve that is meant for classroom settings, not for the real life scenarios. Being a teacher, being a kind of person who is involved with teaching from last 4 or 5 years, I can see and I can say one thing with guarantee, that all those students who are like in the bracket of GPA 2.6, 2.7 till 3.3 and till 3.4, they are the real asset of industry right now. They are the key change driver for any role they are, because they are those kind of people who have tried to balance few of the options in life. They have tried to inculcate all of those options as well that has developed and that has groomed their personality. So they have actually worked on all those options as well that make them the kind of person that they are. And if we talk about the 4.0 students and all those students who were in 3.9 or something closer to the highest possible aptitude, those students were those who said, मार्केटिंग क्यों पढ़नी है यार, दफा करो सोर्स में क्या रखा है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में तो कुछ होता ही नहीं है, forget about design, talk about something. So they are those kind of people who entirely depend on hard skills instead of soft skills. And when we see things today in 21st century, it's all about how well you adapt the change, how well you respond to the change, how well and consistently you perform according to the dynamics of the environment. It's not how much you follow the rules. It's all about how much you manipulate and then follow the rules in a way that you stay in the position and you materialize most of the choices available in that environment. And this smartness is mostly possible with those people who have actually worked in their life in those times when few of the students were just studying, or few of the students were not even doing this.
Exactly. So, A minus wale students are A plus wale and A minus wale smart, not nerdy.
Even those students who are below C, they were the other extremes.
True, exactly. I agree to that. I was actually going to ask sorry, I'm interrupting, but I was just going to put this one line here. Okay. Exactly what you mentioned. It's about both, right? Like having this sort of executional experience, but also knowing your stuff, knowing that knowledge as well. You can't really pick I mean, एक चीज दूसरे से related है directly. Exactly.
And especially आज के दौर में operational management और operational knowledge बहुत जरूरी है.
Exactly.
जब आप किसी भी रोल में हैं तो आपको ऑपरेशनल सर्कमस्टांसेस के साथ जिस तरह से आप डील करते हैं, ये नॉलेज उन्हीं लोगों को आता है जो ऑपरेशनल सेटिंग्स में अपने आप को ट्रेन करते हैं. ऑपरेशनल सेटिंग जैसे वो वाले स्टूडेंट जो यूजुअली सोसाइटीज में रोल प्ले करते हैं, वो वाले स्टूडेंट जो एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर में इवेंट्स में जाके पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, तो दूसरी यूनिवर्सिटीज में जाके अपने एक्सपोजर को एक्सटेंड करते हैं. यूजुअली वो स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं जो अपनी डायनामिक्स के साथ साथ और डायनामिक्स को भी लर्न करके अपनी डायनामिक नॉलेज को एक्सपैंड करते हैं, अपने ब्रैकेट को, स्पेक्ट्रम को एनहांस करते हैं.
Exactly. So, you being a teacher, you've seen these young people come into the university, get nourished and then change their entire personalities and then go into the work field. Most of them, well, if not most of them, but some of them must definitely have come back to their university and
True.
their alma mater, and you may have been able to gauge certain changes in them. My question to you would then be, as a teacher, have you noticed if they did well when they had higher education?
Well, it is a subjective question.
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
example, there are few students who are looking forward to higher studies from their day one. I know few of the students who are working for their application to be somewhere in Germany and USA even 2 years before their undergrad degree
Finished.
to
Yeah.
be given to them. So the moment they were done with the undergrad, they were ready to be applying for MS degree. So these are those students who have their plans from like ages. Then
True.
all of these students, when we see those students who are going for MS and then they have a plan for PhD, yes, they are the one who have actually planned MS for a reason. If we see students who are going for MS and they think they'll get better perks in industry in comparison to those people who are just done with their undergrad,
Mhm.
or they'll be getting better salary in comparison to those people who are just done with undergrad, I think they are wrong to think about this way because they are freshy, though they are MS holder and other people are BS holder, but being the freshie, they will be getting the same perks, the same salary package, and probably the same job role as well. So as long
Mhm.
as you don't have enough professional experience, you will be treated as a newcomer, as a newbie. There could be a difference in this way. For example, you are given a role, and some person who is just done with undergrad, he's also given a role, but now the pace to go onward from that role can vary, and that
True.
entirely depend on the kind of person who's taking that role. If somebody is using his MS knowledge,
Mhm.
so he can reach to the leading position probably earlier than the other person because he also had an MS degree in hand. But that all depends how he take his credentials along. It's
Mhm.
not a hard and fast rule that anyone who has MS degree is going to be the lead sooner. No, it's how you take it, how you perceive it, how you take it along on your professional track. So it's entirely subjective as how person take it. So you cannot say it's like for corporate how they deal it, for or like startups how they deal it, or for the established companies how they deal. No, it's mostly based on the person who's actually taking all those roles and degrees and gelling with all the experience are their company is putting them inside.
Uh-huh, exactly. So from if I may summarize this, you're saying that the work experience is also a learning curve. So it
Yes,
actually accumulates with your degree. So left
true.
alone, you can be a PhD, but you would probably, if you don't have work experience, you'd probably end up making the same
Yes,
mistakes that a freshie would be making
I would
in
like
a
to
work.
highlight another aspect here. I have seen a lot of students saying, यार मेरा CGPA तो 2.5 है तो अब मैं किसी
Uh-huh,
स्कॉलरशिप पे अप्लाई नहीं कर सकता,
uh-huh.
या मेरा GPA तो मतलब 3 से कम है तो I cannot apply, maybe 2.9 but I cannot apply. For them especially, their professional experience will help them a lot to tailor their application.
But then
Something
don't
that
you
they
think a lot
couldn't
of
achieve.
companies, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Gigi, I
No.
believe there are in current scenarios there are few options who complement your experience along your degrees, so they can actually entertain you in that capacity. So it's not the case everywhere.
That's true. It's just that the question I was going to ask was that a lot of companies also have these cut-off GPAs के अच्छा अगर अच्छी कंपनी है तो वो लिख देंगे कि GPA 3.5 preferred, right? It's not like it's mandatory, but it's sort of like a discouraging term right there for people who have 3 below GPA.
रमला पाकिस्तान में अब ये कम हो गया,
अच्छा,
सीरियसली.
हाँ.
नाउ मैं हर साल अपनी कैंपस के जो हैं जो जॉब फेयर होता है हमारा एनुअल, मैं उसमें
हम्म,
पार्टिसिपेट करती हूँ एज एलुमनाई लाइजन, क्योंकि मैं अपनी कैंपस, मैं यहीं की स्टूडेंट हूँ, मैं यहीं पे पढ़ा रही हूँ, तो एज एलुमनाई
ठीक
लाइजन
है.
मैं काम. मैंने उसमें हमेशा ये चीज़ देखी है कि सिर्फ एक दो कंपनीज, आई डोंट वांट टू मेंशन देम, वो हमेशा 3 जीपीए को इंडोर्स करती हैं, लेकिन बाकी सब कंपनीज, मैं इसमें टेलकोस की भी बात कर रही हूँ, मैं इसमें सॉफ्टवेयर की एस्टेब्लिश कंपनीज की भी बात कर रही हूँ, मैं स्टार्टअप्स की भी बात कर रही हूँ, दे डोंट highlight or they don't put that cut to discriminate the skill set.
ठीक है,
They
ठीक है.
totally go for the CV, they totally go for the credential, they totally go for the skill set of the student.
Which is something fantastic actually,
It
because
is talking, and this is what I'm talking about Islamabad. I don't know about rest of the country, to be honest, because
I am certain the big names would be changing towards, because I do have friends who had GPAs like 2.5 and they got hired into
hmm,
MNCs.
हाँ,
Kyunki they used to be very, very vocal, very dynamic, very
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
into everything happening on campus. So they had this, huge list of work experiences with, oh, we
बिल्कुल
worked in this society, this society, this society.
हम्म
And since these are MNCs which are not Pakistan based, so it's really not very easy to get into these
बिल्कुल
companies in the first place. So I completely understand that this is necessary. However, then again, I think I've also noticed in my life that people who had higher education and they had some sort of job role, like internships and or maybe a couple of years of good
हम्म
job experience, they actually उन्होंने ना अपनी पीएचडी में भी बहुत ज्यादा काम किया होता है compared to people
बिल्कुल
who just
बिल्कुल
came from bachelor's directly to master's leading
हाँ
to PhD. People who had a taste of actual workplace में क्या हो रहा है, they were phenomenal with their academics as well.
and
Would you like to
also
comment?
they are better. I would say here, in a way, पाकिस्तान में एक जो समझी जाती है बात, जो कि मैं ज़ाती तौर पे अपने स्टूडेंट्स में हमेशा कोशिश करती हूँ कि इस चीज़ को इनकलकेट किया जाए. When we go for research, we are not objectifying ourselves only for academics. No, not at all. When you're going for research, you have to set yourself for R&D roles. That means you have to work on bridging industry and academics. If
Mm-hmm.
we are working in academics, we can design innovative solutions. But
बिल्कुल.
without industry problems, there is no point of validating those innovative solutions. And if we say we are having controlled experiments and we say our approach is one of the finest approach, and that has nothing to do with the real world scenarios, so I cannot say that that approach is as worthy as it could be. So if we are working for that bridging uh, place or for that pivotal role, so then I think हम वो जो PhD का हक है, जो research का हक है, वो हम अदा करेंगे. लेकिन
Exactly.
in that case हमें अपनी PhD को टेलर करना पड़ेगा इस तरह से कि हम उसमें डेवलपमेंट और रिसर्च के कॉम्बिनेशन ट्राई करें.
बिल्कुल.
मतलब
Absolutely.
अगर हम सिर्फ रिसर्च ड्रिवन कर देंगे, एंड स्पेशली अगर आपने पाकिस्तान वापस आना है, तो पाकिस्तान में वापस आके रिसर्च ड्रिवन रोल्स बहुत लिमिटेड है, इवन बोथ फॉर बॉयज एंड गर्ल्स. तो आपको कॉम्बिनेशन पे काम करने के लिए कॉम्बिनेशन की एप्टीट्यूड की जरूरत पड़ेगी. सो यू डोंट फील इन अ वे कि अगर मैं रिसर्च में जा रहा हूँ, सो दैट मीन आई एम कटिंग माई सेल्फ फ्रॉम द technical side of the solutions, or maybe something technology driven side of the solution. I can stay away from these things and I will be winning every time. I don't think so, because in that case you are missing the, what you can say, the secret ingredient of the recipe, that is actually developing the taste.
I completely understand what you're saying. Being a PhD candidate myself, मुझे लगने लगा है कि PhD जो है ना वो किसी entrepreneurial journey से कम नहीं है, because you are
बिल्कुल
first gauging कि ज़रूरत क्यों है इस research की, right? Why am
हाँ
I
प्रॉब्लम हाँ
putting in 5 or 6 good years of my life
बिल्कुल
to working
बिल्कुल
16 hours a day sometimes? तो I completely understand your point. थोड़ा सा conversation को ख़वातीन की तरफ लेकर आते हैं.
सही है.
Right. Um, uh, would you like me to share your slides right now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So there we go. And I will just switch it to full screen.
So, okay. So talking about the webinar that we are conducting today was all about all the opportunities that we have as a female in terms of our education, industry, and research. If we talk about the statistics that we have in the recent census for Pakistan, there are 49.2% females in total. That means almost half of the population are based on females. And if we consider this half of the pool as 100% of the females, out of those 100%, 60% of the females are based in this youth bracket. We call it age 15 to 64. So if you consider this age bracket, we can say that in this age bracket, we'll see the potential moms, we can see the girls who are in their undergrads, all those girls who are going to pursue their MS probably, all those girls who are going to pursue their professional tracks after their studies in whatever scenario, the kind of choices they'll be having in professional tracks after like early 30s, late 30s, or even early 40s, and the way they'll turn throughout their professional track. So almost 64 is a kind of age when most of the people are retiring from their age. That means most of the females in Pakistan belong to this bracket.
Okay.
And when generally it is perceived that this bracket is the catalyst of a nation. So that means we have women, most of the women in this bracket. So we can drive those scenarios or even those opportunities that can actually materialize this bracket well. So for that we can talk later. As a teacher and even otherwise, I can say that if I see in my class there are 50 students, hardly 8 to 10 students are girls in STEM education. लाइक अगर 50 लोगों की पूरी क्लास भरी हुई तो 2 टेबल या एक टेबल और कोने में करके लड़कियां बैठी होंगी, एंड दे आर यूजुअली परसीविंग कि ठीक है हम सिर्फ क्लास में इसलिए आए हैं ताकि हम अब इस टॉपिक को कवर कर लें. अगर उनके जहन में सवाल भी आ रहे होंगे तो वो मोस्टली इन क्वेश्चंस को पूछने के बजाय वो उस चीज़ पे डिपेंड करें कि ठीक है हम बाद में आपस में डिस्कस कर लें. तो उसकी एक रीज़न उनका तादाद में कम होना भी है, और दूसरा उन्हें ये भी लगता है कि क्योंकि हम स्टेम सब्जेक्ट्स में, और स्टेम सब्जेक्ट्स ऐसे सब्जेक्ट्स हैं जिनमें लड़के रिलेटिवली हमसे ऑलरेडी बेहतर हैं, तो हम अगर कोई क्वेश्चन करेंगे तो वो बड़ा स्टूपिड सा क्वेश्चन होगा. तो यहाँ पे ये जो एनरोलमेंट है, ये हम प्लीज अगली स्लाइड कर दें जी. इफ वी सी, तो इस जो लैक ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ है, इसने इस तरह के इश्यूज क्रिएट किए. जैसे वो हायर एजुकेशन में भी पहुंच गई, लेकिन हायर एजुकेशन में पहुंची एक तो बहुत ही कम. अगर हम अपनी रेशो देखें तो स्कूल में मैट्रिक तक जो लड़कियां साइंस पढ़ रही होती हैं वहाँ शायद 6 सेक्शन बने होते हैं, लेकिन उनमें से जब हम अपने कॉलेजेस में जाते हैं तो शायद 2 या 3 सेक्शन बनते हैं. आर्ट्स के बहुत सारे सेक्शन होते हैं. जब हम अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी में जाते हैं तो उन 2 सेक्शन में से बहुत कम लड़कियां हमें यूनिवर्सिटीज में मिलती हैं.
बिल्कुल 3 या 4.
बिल्कुल मोस्टली हम हार्डली काउंट कर सकते हैं कि वो 4 लड़कियां जो यूनिवर्सिटी फला में गई थी, फला यूनिवर्सिटी में गई थी, अब वो क्या करें. और उनमें से भी जब इन लड़कियां पर्सनल लाइफ में जाती हैं तो क्योंकि उनको हायर एजुकेशन इसलिए कर ली क्योंकि उनकी अपॉर्चुनिटीज आगे किसी ना किसी तरह से उन्हें मिल गई, उन्होंने आगे कर लिया. तो उनके हायर एजुकेशन गोल्स इतने वेग थे कि जैसे वो पर्सनल लाइफ में गई, उनके वो गोल्स कहीं ना कहीं शटर हो गए. उन्होंने डिग्री को बिल्कुल साइड पे रख दिया और उन्होंने बाकी चीज़ों को इतना प्रोमिनेंटली अपनी लाइफ में ऐड कर लिया कि डिग्री कहीं बहुत बैकग्राउंड में चली गई, लगा ही नहीं कभी ये जिंदगी का हिस्सा थी. Then higher education is an elite art of life and rarely leads to something tangible afterwards, because ये sometimes कुछ लोग ऐसे भी, मतलब अगर क्लास सिस्टम में जाएं या जनरली भी, कुछ लोग इसको एक ऐसा elite art of life समझते हैं कि ठीक है जी मैंने BS कर लिया है या मैंने MS कर लिया है and that's it. They don't
एग्जैक्टली.
think कि BS
बस
और
डिग्री मिल गई,
MS के
उसको
थ्रू
अवार्ड फ्रेम करके लगा दो बस.
बिल्कुल. So BS और MS करना, मैं अपने स्टूडेंट्स को अक्सर कहती हूँ कि your degree is not a goal, that is a way to a goal. So you need to identify what's your goal to achieve your degree. So यहाँ पे हमने डिग्री को गोल बना लिया है. So please next slide.
Sure.
So if we see कि वो क्या रीजन है जिसकी वजह से लड़कियां इसको elite आर्ट ऑफ लाइफ समझ के साइड पे कर देती हैं बाकी सारी, उसकी बहुत मेजर रीजन है, दैट इज अनसर्टेनिटी अबाउट फ्यूचर ऑप्शंस. बहुत सारी लड़कियों को ये होता है, हम पढ़ भी लें, हम समझ भी लें, हम उन चीज़ों को अच्छे से अंडरस्टैंड भी कर लें, लेकिन हमें बहुत हद तक इस चीज़ का यकीन है कि या तो हमारी फैमिली ही हमें फर्दर परस्यू नहीं करने देगी, और अगर हमारी फैमिली ने थोड़ी हिम्मत कर भी ली, तो अगर हमारी किसी भी तरह से शादी होगी तो हमारी जो फ्यूचर जो इन लॉज हैं वो तो बिल्कुल भी इस तरह की जो लाइफ स्टाइल है उसको पसंद नहीं करेंगे। और ऐसा है भी कि हम अपनी सेटिंग में देखते हैं कि लोग जब शादियों के हवाले से इस तरह के ऑप्शंस को डिस्कस करते हैं तो दे यूजुअली टारगेट दिस एरिया कि जी बच्ची घर पे होगी या मोस्टली वो जॉब नहीं करेगी, ये सबसे पहले इस पे कट लगाया जाता है। तो बहुत सारी लड़कियां इस चीज़ को जब देखती हैं कि ये तो इतना प्रिडोमिनेंट है हमारी सोसाइटी में, तो वो अपने एजुकेशन के दौरान ही इस हवाले से इतने कंसर्न गोल्स नहीं रखते। फिर उन्हें ये पता है कि हमारी फ्यूचर लाइफ में हमारा कंट्रोल ही बहुत मिनिमल है, हमारे लिए हमेशा ऑप्शंस किसी ने डिसाइड करने हैं। तो जब ऑप्शंस किसी ने डिसाइड करने हैं तो फिर उसके हवाले से उसका नॉलेज इन चीज़ों के हवाले से होना चाहिए, शायद हमारा अपना नॉलेज इस पे ना भी हो तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। फिर हम ये देखते हैं कि अगर पर्सनल लाइफ और प्रोफेशनल लाइफ को बैलेंस करने की कोशिश करते हुए वो अपनी ज़िंदगी को आगे चलाने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो यहाँ पे भी उन्हें बहुत कम ऐसा सपोर्ट नेटवर्क मिलता है जो इस बैलेंस को अचीव करने में उनकी हेल्प करते हैं। अगर तो वो अपनी फैमिली में हैं, तो बच्चे उनकी ज़िम्मेदारी के तौर पे इतना उन पे एंडोर्स कर दिया जाता है कि अगर वो कुर्बानी नहीं देने वाली माँ बन रही तो शी इज़ नॉट अ गुड मॉम। अगर वो अपने बच्चों को और अपनी लाइफ को बैलेंस करने की कहीं न कहीं वे तो लोग उसको जनरली नहीं पसंद करेंगे। इवन अगर वो मैरिड नहीं है और अपनी पर्सनल लाइफ में चीज़ को रखती है, तो लोगों को ये लग रहा होता है कि प्रोफेशनल और एम्बिशियस होते हुए अपनी लाइफ को इस तरह से डिज़ाइन कर रही है कि इसकी लाइफ में पर्सनल लाइफ का कोई मार्जिन ही नहीं है। तो वो इन एनी वे जज हो रही होती है फॉर देयर चॉइसेस, बट उसको स्पेस बहुत कम मिल रही होती है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। अब क्योंकि व्हाट्स अहेड स्ट्रेटजी में बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, सो लड़कियां क्या करती हैं यूजुअली, वो कहती हैं ठीक है यार डिग्री ले लो, लेकिन अगर हमें कुछ समझ नहीं भी आई तो है, मतलब मैंने कंप्यूटर साइंस की डिग्री ले ली पर मुझे प्रोग्रामिंग नहीं आती, इट्स ओके। अब मैंने एप्टीट्यूड बिल्ड नहीं भी किया, मेरे पास कोई स्किल सेट नहीं भी है, लेकिन है मैंने क्या ही कर लेना है इस चीज से, मुझे क्या ही हासिल है, क्योंकि वो उसके पास कंट्रोल नहीं है, क्योंकि उसे फ्यूचर लाइफ में वो सारी अनसर्टेनिटी नजर आ रही, तो वो करंट लाइफ में अपने एप्टीट्यूड को बिल्ड करने की तरफ टर्न नहीं करती, वो अपने लर्निंग कर्व को एनहांस करने की कोशिश नहीं करती। फिर उनको जो जनरली हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में करियर काउंसलिंग की बहुत कमी है, सवेयर कमी है मुझसे, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोगों को ये लगता है कि हमें अगर अपनी फील्ड की हार्ड स्किल्स का नहीं पता तो हम अपने आप को कहीं पे भी प्लेस नहीं कर सकते। जबकि बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होते हैं जिनकी बहुत सारी, फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप कंटेंट राइटिंग कर सकते हैं तो आप बहुत सफिशिएंटली रिमोटली जॉब्स कर सकते हैं। अगर आप बहुत अच्छा जो है बोल सकते हैं तो आप बहुत सारी ऐसी जॉब्स में जा सकते हैं जो कम्युनिकेशन ड्रिवन होती हैं। सो इट्स नॉट एंटायरली दोज हार्ड स्किल्स ऑफ योर सब्जेक्ट्स, रादर आपके पर्सनालिटी ट्रेड्स भी बहुत सारी चीज़ों का कॉम्प्लीमेंट करते हुए आपके हार्ड स्किल्स को आगे वे फॉरवर्ड आपके लिए क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। सो करियर काउंसलिंग अगर हो तो हमें पता हो हमारे पास करियर ऑप्शंस की ब्रैकेट जो है ना वो डाइवर्स है, हम बहुत दो चार करियर ऑप्शन से आगे अपने आप को सोचते ही नहीं। देन मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम जो ये लड़कों पे भी इस तरह अप्लाई होता है कि जो ट्रैक चूज किया हुआ होता है अपने लिए, वो ट्रैक उनके इंटरेस्ट का होते नहीं जिस तरह से उन्होंने अपने अपने लिए सोचा होता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल दैट पर्सन इज समथिंग हु इज गुड इन आर्ट्स, बट वो बैठा हुआ कंप्यूटर साइंस में, अब वो सारी जिंदगी यही ट्राई करता है कि मैं किसी तरीके से आर्ट्स को कंप्यूटर से जोड़ूं, और जब वो जुड़ेगा तो फिर उसको लगेगा कि इसमें वो स्पार्क पैदा हुआ है, मुझे इसमें इंटरेस्ट फील हो रहा है, वरना वो हमेशा अपने इंटरेस्ट की चीजें तलाश करने के चक्कर में जिस ट्रैक में होता है वो उसको भी तबाह कर देता है। सो इफ आई समराइज होल ऑफ दिस, तो हमारे पास अगर हम जितने भी देखते हैं कि हमारे पास गर्ल्स की तादाद जनरली कम है, हायर स्टडीज में उनकी ऑलरेडी तादाद कम है, लेकिन उन कम को भी हम इंगेज करने में कामयाब इसलिए नहीं हो रहे हैं, और उसकी कम होने की रीज़न भी यही है क्योंकि प्रोफेशनल ट्रैक के बाद प्रोफेशनल ट्रैक इतनी मुश्किल और इतना हार्ड है, चैलेंजिंग है, जब उसको हासिल करने के बाद आपके पास अपनी सोसाइटी और सोशो इकोनॉमिक वही प्रेशर्स अवेलेबल हैं, वही अनसर्टेनिटी, आपको उन्हीं लोगों की लिस्ट में जाके खड़ा होना पड़ता है जिन्होंने शायद वो चैलेंजिंग टास्क नहीं गुजारे होते। तो फिर आप कहते हैं कि ठीक है, हमने अपनी मुश्किलात हासिल करके किया क्या, हमने अपना एप्टीट्यूड बिल्ड करके किया, अगर हमने इन द एंड फिर इसी चीज़ के लिए स्ट्रगल करनी है कि मैं बाहर नहीं जा सकती, मैं पढ़ नहीं सकती, मैं पीएचडी नहीं कर सकती, अगर मुझे बाहर कोई अच्छी ऑप्शन मिल रही है पढ़ने की तो मैं कर नहीं सकती, तो मैं करंट सिनारियो में भी बस टाइम पास करने की ही कोशिश करती हूँ। सो जब तक हमें नेक्स्ट फेज क्लियर नहीं होगा, हम करंट फेज को अच्छे तरीके से चलाने की कोशिश नहीं करेंगे. दैट्स हाउ आई प्रोसीड.
Thank you so much. That was actually very concise because there's a lot of interconnecting things happening in there,
Yes.
and all of your points really hit home. क्योंकि मैंने अपने साथ के लोगों को देखा है, मास्टर्स में they're not publishing, right? Or if you're not publishing, then you're really not creating a pathway towards, like you said, research and development. For example,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
um, Google's founders were PhDs who were writing
Yes.
papers and books, right?
True. True. True.
They were patenting their research as they went
बिल्कुल
along, ठीक है? तो
बिल्कुल.
उनको कैसे पता था कि वो जो काम कर रहे हैं वो इतना स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट है? क्योंकि they knew exactly कि दुनिया में हो क्या रहा है. They were up
बिल्कुल.
to they were on par with what's happening around them because they had done their homework, they had done their
True.
research.
True. 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 True.
तो बहुत सारे लोग आजकल ये कहते हैं कि अच्छा नौकरियां नहीं हैं, एंड आई थिंक कैसे हो सकता है कि नौकरियां नहीं हैं? क्यों नहीं हम नौकरियां क्रिएट क्यों नहीं कर रहे जब इतने
बिल्कुल.
मसाइल हैं? तो
हाँ,
हम
तो ये
नौकरियां इसलिए
अपॉर्चुनिटीज
क्रिएट
हैं.
नहीं कर रहे क्योंकि हम इंतजार कर रहे हैं कि हमें प्लेट में रख के कोई चीज मिल जाए.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
और इवन यूनिवर्सिटी में भी हमने जो है वो इंगेज हुए बगैर बैचलर्स
हाँ
भी
जी.
काट दिए अपने. Like you said कि we weren't all rounded, we weren't
True.
you know good students in who participated in extracurricular things as well. Somebody has just asked a question कि पाकिस्तान की जो economic condition है उसमें do you think we need PhDs?
I would say yes, very much yes. And when we say PhDs, we actually say all those people who are very suitable for R&D roles, not just the research roles.
Yeah,
Because as I told earlier, Pakistan ongoing dynamics and even economical capacities are not enough for research driven options, because sadly we have very less innovative mindsets, very less innovative opportunities in Pakistan, where we say, okay, we'll make a research about something and somebody else gonna test it and review it and do it for us, and then we'll see that how it works, and then we'll go for another research or innovation or something. We have very least labs. Telling you frankly, Ramla, and I'm in FAST, we have NUCES in the nearby vicinity. We have few other universities in Islamabad. They have very less labs, although Islamabad is one of the top tier city of Pakistan. It contains the most novel people who have good access to education, and they also have access to quality education. If they don't have access to the state of art research labs, what we can expect about rest of the Pakistan? So in Pakistan, if you are coming with a PhD, that is only preparing you for research or publishing, and then again all those publishing, which is like one paper, another paper, third paper, and then it is just for the sake of publishing and not to be used anywhere in the industry or anywhere else. So I don't think you will actually materialize yourself well in the scenario of Pakistan. For that matter, you have to know the other building blocks of the research process as well.
exactly. I think one thing that I'd really like to branch off from what you said and add into it is कि ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपके हाथ में PhD हो तो ही आप रिसर्च करें
बिल्कुल
या
बिल्कुल.
रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट करें. आप कहीं पे भी आपको कोई मसला नजर आ रहा है पाकिस्तान में, आप उसके
हाँ.
बारे में रिसर्च करें. अगर आप सोल्यूशन ओरिएंटेड हैं एंड जस्ट पब्लिश दैट, right?
True.
Make it known कि okay, there is a issue and I'm dealing with it, or this is my thought
बिल्कुल.
process, challenge me or help me, right? तो जब तक आप उसको publish नहीं करेंगे, actually I was going through the website of the Pakistan Council of Science and Technology. They have this little tab on the side just says women in science and tech. और आप
Okay.
उसमें जाएं और आप उसमें देखें कि पिछले 2 सालों में कितनी रिसर्च पब्लिकेशंस हुई हैं, एंड दे हैव दिस नाइस लिटिल जेंडर डिसएग्रीगेशन. जमीन आसमान का फर्क है between how much men have published their work compared to how much women have published their work. Now that they have the question now is no longer कि अच्छा मैं higher education में जाऊँ या work experience में जाऊँ, क्योंकि you are now in higher education. लेकिन question now begin
बिल्कुल.
is that higher education में फिर क्यों आए आप if you weren't here to help? See, research
बिल्कुल.
publications, in my point of view, they help put your country on the map. कि अच्छा इस country में
True.
से ये research आ रही है और यहाँ ये problems
हाँ,
थे और इनको इस तरह से solve किया गया.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल. And it's more about the problem solving approach. जब आप रिसर्च कर रहे हैं तो आपने अपने आप को एक प्रॉब्लम सॉल्वर के तौर पे कैटेगराइज करते हुए अपनी चीजों के रेफरेंसेस बिल्ड करने. ये चीज हमारी डिग्री प्रोसेस में भी मिसिंग है. ओवरऑल जब हम अपने डिग्री प्रोसेस को भी डायसेक्ट करते हैं तो इट्स मोर अबाउट ये कोर्स तो वो कोर्स तो फलाना कोर्स तो फलाना कोर्स, बट इट एंटायरली लैक दिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट. कि फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मैं कंप्यूटर साइंस की टीचर हूँ तो मैं तो बाय द एंड ऑफ डिग्री अपने स्टूडेंट से ये पूछती हूँ कि ओके, इफ यू सी अ प्रॉब्लम कैन यू थिंक ऑफ अ सॉल्यूशन दैट कैन टारगेट द रूट कॉज ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम. If you cannot design an algorithm to solve that problem, I'm sorry, you are not computer scientist yet, even if you are in the last semester of your degree. That means now in your personality, in your approach, if that thing is reflecting, then I can say yes, you have achieved that knowledge. Now you are representing the kind of context for which you have been trained. That is the case with rest of the degree processes as well. If you cannot reflect, if you cannot create it into the kind of impact that is the desired goal of all that research or publication or whatever you do even before that, then you are not doing it for the right reasons. Then you are just doing it for the sake of doing, I guess.
No, exactly. और वो honestly speaking वो रद्दी के पायल में ही खत्म हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि nobody's if it's not
बिल्कुल.
helping anyone or if it's not applicable to a solution, उसका कोई फायदा नहीं होगा unless you have this, you know.
और दूसरा ये वाली अप्रोच भी थोड़ी हम स्पेशली पाकिस्तान में HSC भी थोड़ा इसको ड्राइव करता है और हमारे यहाँ ज्यादातर ये अप्रोच बड़ी समझाती है कि जी हमने सिर्फ इस इम्पैक्ट फैक्टर को टारगेट करना है, हमने इतने जर्नल लिखने हैं और हमें ये इतने इतने के चक्कर में हम अपनी क्वालिटी को सत्यानाश दें. एक्चुअली वो चीज हमें ज्यादा किलिंग एटीट्यूड की तरफ ले जाती है, क्योंकि फिर हमारे लिए ये मैटर था ओके माय प्रमोशन इज बेस्ड ऑन 2 पेपर्स एंड दैट आई हैव टू क्रिएट इन जस्ट 1 ईयर, तो बस फिर मुझे किसी भी कॉन्फ्रेंस में ना भेजनी. और आप जनरली भी देखें तो हमारा बहुत बंदा कहेगा जी मैंने इतने पेपर लिखे हैं, और मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम अगर वो शख्स सिर्फ पाकिस्तान से, तो आप उसकी राइटिंग में देखेंगे कि वो क्लास नजर नहीं आती, हालांकि वो जितनी तादाद पेपर्स की बता रहा होगा वो तो वैसे ही उसकी प्रैक्टिस की वजह से उसकी राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस अच्छी हो जाएगी. लेकिन वो इसीलिए अच्छी होती क्योंकि वो यूजुअली ऐसे कॉन्फ्रेंसेस को टारगेट ही नहीं करते जो उसके एप्टीट्यूड पे या उसके स्किल सेट के ऊपर जाके उसको थोड़ा रेस करते हैं. उसको अपना बार रेस किए बगैर ही वो सब कुछ मिल गया, जो कि शायद बहुत सारे लोग अगर क्वालिटी को टारगेट करें तो वो बार को रेस करें.
बिल्कुल, which is why conferences are sort of a conference paper is sort of a question mark to me, क्योंकि vetting process नहीं होता, right? अगर मैं चाह रही हूँ कि मेरे because they charge you a certain amount of money for you to come and speak, तो उनकी तो source of income हो आप, तो वो अपनी source of income पे कुल्हाड़ी क्यों मारेंगे, right? So it is not like it's peer reviewed या कोई vetting process. तो इसलिए I always say this to people who are inclined towards research, that aim for journal papers. उसमें ये होगा कि आप बहुत सीखेंगे जब आपको वापस लालम लाल आपका पेपर
बिल्कुल
मिलेगा, तो फिर आप कुछ रातें गुजारेंगे उसको बेहतर करने के लिए, और फिर आपको नजर आएंगी क्या प्रॉब्लम्स थी.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
तो I feel like also, by the way, I just wanted to mention this, and I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here. कि right now I am in a research group जिसमें से 3 लोग खाली academics में, बाकी कोई 5 या 6 लोग सब offices में काम करते हैं, right? So उनके जो job roles हैं, what we in this research group are going to be researching, they're going to readily apply it in their projects, right? So it's so inspiring. Please.
बिल्कुल, यहाँ मैं एक पॉइंट ऐड करना चाहूँगी कि रिसेंटली जब मैं ग्रेस ऑफर सेलिब्रेशन में गई तो वहाँ मैं एक ऐसा वर्कशॉप अटेंड किया. इट वाज हाउ टू एंड अप इन एन आइडियल जॉब आफ्टर योर पीएचडी. एंड जब मैं उस सेमिनार का हिस्सा बनी तो वो 1 घंटे का था. और उस एक सेमिनार में 3 पैनलिस्ट थे. उसमें से एक खातून ऐसी थी जो यूनिवर्सिटी प्रोफेसर थी, but she used to spend most of her time in teaching and less time in research. Then the other person, she was also female. She was spending most of her time in research than teaching. And then the person who was like, I was looking forward, he was from Microsoft Research,
Mm-hmm.
and he was reflecting the role of R&D. He
Mm-hmm.
was working on the bridge of R&D.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when different questions were posed to these three people, I have seen the most concrete and tangible answer from the person who was reflecting the R&D, because he was having both context intact and in hand. The person who was only in research or more in research, her work and her papers were more for few other papers to be translated or to be reflected in some other way. The
बहुत
person
छोटे
who
से
was more
niche
into,
में, हाँ.
yes, the person who was in teaching, she was more concerned how methodologies and pedagogies are getting changed to tailor the classroom experience and everything. But when we talk about the asset of computer science domain, the person who was in R&D, he was actually serving that role.
Exactly.
So over there, I was overwhelmed by seeing the kind of answers and the kind of concrete knowledge he was sharing with the rest of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, the precision he has in his answer is all based on the kind of experience he's having in his role.
I agree. I agree. Not to say that teachers or academics are not important. They're 100% important because
No,
they are
they
the
are,
people who are
but
going to raise the
don't work.
R&D, right?
Yes, I am part of that experience, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say that we should not miss this integrated or this integral component of the research process.
बिल्कुल, एग्जैक्टली. अच्छा, बहुत अच्छी बात की आपने अभी. I've noticed this while I was in my undergrad as well. I noticed कि यार not many industry affiliated projects happening. कोई इक्का दुक्का काम
Hmm.
चल रहा है. Or that was really distracting to me because these were experts, right? अगर इनके पास PhDs हैं, they're supposed to be experts. Why
Huh.
aren't we applying their knowledge?
Hmm.
Right, because these people did their PhDs only to end up in academia, and once they
Exactly.
got that academic job, they stopped publishing, they stopped
True.
writing. I was actually looking up this portfolio of an old professor of mine from I don't even remember, but he had like 4 publications only. But I remember he was extremely well connected with
Hmm.
industry projects, industry specific projects. And it was amazing to learn from him क्योंकि उनको बहुत बातों का पता होता था और वो अक्सर व
सही
बेशतर इतना ज़्यादा ना बुकिश बातों पे आपको पकड़ते भी नहीं थे अगर आप कुछ गलतियां
सही
कर.
सही. हम्म.
So that is the sort of experience that really taught me a lot
बिल्कुल.
about टेक्स्ट बुक से निकल के सोचना कैसे चाहिए, स्पेशली एज एन
एग्जैक्टली.
इंजीनियर, राइट. टेक्स्ट
हाँ.
बुक में आपको अगर एक फ्लो चार्ट के तहत बात बताइए, ओके स्टेप 1
हम्म.
डू दिस, स्टेप 2 डू दिस.
हम्म.
रियल लाइफ में एवरीथिंग इज jumbled up.
ट्रू.
So the term engineer in my head actually means how do you come up with an engineered solution
ट्रू. ट्रू.
and not a textbook solution.
बिल्कुल
तो
बिल्कुल.
ये चीज आई थिंक रिसर्च आपको कभी कभी ज्यादा सिखाती है क्योंकि आप रिसर्च करते हैं ऑन ग्राउंड रियल प्रॉब्लम्स पे.
बिल्कुल. और
वुड यू लाइक टू ऐड ऑन?
अगर उन प्रॉब्लम्स को अगर आप फोकस करेंगे तो आप डेफिनेटली उन प्रॉब्लम्स के जब रूट कॉजेस को पकड़ेंगे तो you will definitely explore the problem space, you will definitely explore the user space, you will definitely explore all the possible solutions that can address the problem or the user in that problem state. You will go for the real time prototype that can address out of ideation, and will go for the feedback because you have user in hand, you have all those context in hand that can actually help to fix the issues in a way as it addressed in the industry, or as it is supposed to be there in the real world. So as we were talking earlier, it's not about I made an innovative idea and
Mm-hmm.
that is innovative because I have tested that in a controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
That controlled environment is giving a little context of the real world. Even if I say most of the time, our research, even for conferences, failed for a reason because your data is something that you have fabricated or that you have padded or that you have added on your own. It's not the real world data.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not the real world data, that means it lack the kind of variety which is there in the real world. It don't have that approach that need to be addressed the noise in that data that is
Mm-hmm.
there in the real world. So if your approach is not handling the real things which are there by design, so your application is actually lacking the novelty for the kind of problem which it should be addressing. So that means when you're designing a solution, you're designing a solution in the ideal bubble. When there is no noise, when there is no problem, how will it act?
बिल्कुल.
But
If
if
you
there
were
is a
designing for
noise,
a classroom scenario, then
yes, it's not going to serve the kind of thought that you have thought to be innovative.
exactly. थोड़ा सा wrap up करते हैं. To
Sure.
summarize, I would like you to maybe in a couple of sentences tell me what वो जो आपने एक बात की थी what next वाली, ठीक है? Let's say I
जी जी.
am an undergrad of any
Hmm.
particular STEM subject. What next?
Okay. For the next things, you need to see why you were enrolled in this degree.
Mm-hmm.
If I go back into FSC, I see most of the girls were crying and they were like making their way out to professional degrees for a reason. अब्बू जी मैंने ये इसलिए करना है तो इस डिग्री को ना किया तो पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा. Don't lose those tracks when you are getting to the end of your degree. And always know the reason to go ahead. I see now there are even girls who say, we'll go for MS, and if I ask why will you go for MS, ma'am हम थोड़ा बाहर ही घूमाएंगे. I'm like, bar ghumna is not a choice for your MS. You should have a definite reason why MS. So if you are going ahead, I usually say to my students that MS is nothing but a connection between your PhD and BS.
Okay.
If you are trying to learn in MS, then it's all about your thesis and the kind of professor you choose and the concrete experience or the crux of your experience in your MS is if you are ready for a research process, for an extensive research process for your PhD. And better would be if you're thinking for MS, you better try to have at least one publication out of your thesis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're for industry, then you need to have a good hands-on experience of whatever technology or the hardcore principle that you have learned in your degree. And also, this is an era of well-rounded personalities. Nobody is going to talk to the robots who only generate codes or who only engineer the products, who only go and work on the site and go home. No, this is an era when a well-rounded, good communicator or the person who is pleasant in interaction is well representing their context or their field or their organization. They are definitely considered in a better way instead of for a person who is only there to give their technical roles or the technical skill set. So if you're going for technical for industry, so you need to have a good hands-on experience. If you're going for MS, you need to know why MS. Then try to prepare yourself for an extensive research process for PhD. And if you think no PhD, we have no plans, then go for project-driven MS,
Mm-hmm.
in which you will have a connection with all the problem set that you will be having, that you will be facing after EMS in the industry. So उनके साथ राब्ता रखें.
बिल्कुल. Even बहुत अच्छी बात की project driven MS also keeps the door open for a research
बिल्कुल.
based PhD.
Exactly.
Right? कि
Exactly.
थोड़ा सा आपको जैसे कहते हैं ना आपको एक shadow internship से मिल जाती है कि
बिल्कुल
अच्छा
बिल्कुल मिल
एक
जाती है.
ट्रेलर है PhD के लिए
हाँ
कि आपको नजर आता है.
बिल्कुल.
Plus you're also
हाँ
being equipped with advanced कॉन्सेप्ट्स जो पीएचडी में ज़रूरत पड़ती है, लेकिन ऑन द
बिल्कुल
फ्लिप साइड अगर आप इंडस्ट्री में काम कर रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब है आपको हैंड्स ऑन एक्सपीरियंस है विथ ऑन ग्राउंड प्रॉब्लम्स. That means you
बिल्कुल
are in a
बिल्कुल
much better situation to pick out those problems and research solutions about them.
ट्रू ट्रू
So,
ट्रू
um, like we started this conversation with saying कि ये बहुत subjective matter. I think we're back to square one. कि this is very, very subjective. But I think
indeed it is
few things are very clear to me right now कि you need to have a plan.
बिल्कुल
You need to go in masters or PhD or even your job role with a clear mind कि अच्छा मुझे इसमें से क्या चाहिए, right?
बिल्कुल वाई
What am I exactly what am I looking forward to? ख़वातीन जो PhD या मास्टर्स कर रही हैं, PhD नहीं भी कर रही, मास्टर्स कर रही हैं, they should really look into making the most of their masters कि
बिल्कुल
उसमें से अच्छी रिसर्च निकालें ताकि कोई फ़ायदा भी हो आपके
और
मास्टर्स.
अपने जब अपने सुपरवाइजर को चूज करें तो प्लीज डोंट गो फॉर अ काइंड ऑफ ऑप्शन कि यार ये तो हल्के से निकाल लेगा मेरा, सिर्फ थीसिस जल्दी खत्म हो जाएगा. नो, गो फॉर अ काइंड ऑफ प्रोफेसर या फीमेल मेल, इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, जो एक्सटेंसिव रिसर्च प्रोसेस को इंडोर्स करें, आप पे आपको डेडलाइंस दें, आपको बार बार काम दें, आपको लाल सफ़े प्रोवाइड करें. डोंट अवॉइड दोस टीचर्स. सो अगर आप उन टीचर्स को अवॉइड करेंगे तो अपनी ट्रेनिंग जो आपको एक सिस्टमैटिक ट्रेनिंग मिलने वाली थी वो आपने खुद ही अवॉइड कर दी.
ट्रू. I honestly think मुझे आपसे ना कोई 4 साल पहले बात करनी चाहिए थी when I was मास्टर्स कि मैं ये सारी बातें पहले से अपने आप को प्रिपेयर करके जाती कि इट्स ओके अगर पेपर जो है ना वो लाल होके वापस आ रहा है, इट्स ओके.
नहीं, हम बीइंग फीमेल जैसे बहुत घबराते हैं कि हमें लगता है कि नहीं ये कैसे हो गया कि हम तो गलत कर ही नहीं सकते. वही ना, हमें बचपन से बेस्ट होना सिखाया जाता है, तो
क्योंकि
बेस्ट को तो ये रिवर्ट
खवातीन
मिल
का
नहीं
जो
सकता.
एग्जैक्टली पाकिस्तान में हमने मयार परफेक्शनिज्म का भी तो रखा हुआ है ना अपनी लड़कियों के लिए कि आपको परफेक्ट होना है हर किस्म
बिल्कुल
की. सो वी दैट इज व्हाई
हाँ
बाय द वे ये एक मैंने चीज नोट की है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप एंड पीएचडी बोथ इसकी
जी
खवातीन पाकिस्तानी खवातीन स्पेशली रिस्क नहीं लेती. और जब
यस,
आप
वो रिस्क
रिस्क
टेकिंग
लेते
बिहेवियर ही नहीं है.
एग्जैक्टली और जब आप रिस्क नहीं लेते तो फिर आप यू डोंट डिस्कवर न्यू एवेन्यूज,
ट्रू.
so you tend to miss out.
मिस आउट, और आप रेड रेस का हिस्सा बन जाते हैं कि ठीक है बाकी सब
Exactly,
करें मैं भी ये कर लूं.
exactly. बहुत अच्छा लगा सबा आपसे सीख के, आपसे
सेम
बात करके.
हियर.
I really am really grateful to you and I really
Thank you
am
so
looking
much for
forward
giving me an
to
option.
absolutely. Just to finish off today's webinar, we talked about why higher education and work experience both go hand in hand. अगर आप PhD कर रहे हैं तो साथ साथ internships करते रहें ताकि आप well-rounded हो सकें. अगर आप
बिल्कुल
job कर रहे हैं तो pick up problems, write about them, research about them, publish papers about them. But the publishing should not be for the sake of publishing, but it should be
बिल्कुल
for the sake of
बिल्कुल.
coming up with applicable, tangible solutions to actual on-ground problems. Then again, हर शख्स की life में case to case variations जरूर आती है. Keep in mind that things that you step into have a direct consequence on a much larger audience, which is why when you step into a workplace, go with a clear mindset. Or if you step into a
True.
master's or a PhD program, please go with a clear mindset. Think about why you're stepping into this. और क्या बात हुई
बिल्कुल.
पाकिस्तानी खवातीन के क्या हम
अनसर्टेनिटी फेज को जो है, जो कि है अपना है, so don't make that as the only output to be in your mind. जब आप अपने ऑप्शंस को ड्राफ्ट कर रहे हो, प्लीज हो सकता है कि आपकी एनर्जी और आपकी ऑप्शंस को ड्राफ्ट करने की स्ट्रेंथ उस सीलिंग को वैसे ही शटर कर दे और आपको ही ऐसे सपोर्ट नेटवर्क मिल जाए जो आपको ना सिर्फ फैसिलिटेट करे बल्कि वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस करने में सारी चीज़ों को बेहतर तरीके से इंटीग्रेट करने में भी हेल्प करे. सो डोंट जस्ट थिंक क्योंकि हो नहीं सकता तो इसलिए मैंने सोचना नहीं है, करना नहीं है. सो आई डोंट थिंक इट्स अ गुड आइडिया टू गो फॉर अ लाइफ.
एब्सोल्युटली. आई थिंक सारी गुफ्तगू का जो लुब्बे लुबाब है वो ये है कि प्लीज कुछ करे, step and do
हाँ,
something, right?
yes,
Don't do
believe in
not
yourself
waste
and go
time.
ahead.
Exactly. Take risks, make mistakes, but
Yes.
go ahead. because either work experience or a higher degree, both will help you, but
Bilkul.
only if you are helping yourself.
Yes. How you tailor your application and how you adapt all of this in your application, that makes the real difference.
Bilkul. That brings us to the end of this webinar. और
Yay!
बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला. Honestly, these days in my PhD, right now I'm thinking, सबा मुझे आपसे बहुत पहले बात करनी चाहिए. मैं
अब
prepare
हम
होके
मजीद बातें करते रहेंगे.
absolutely. Even though there's still a long way to go in my PhD, so I will be
Definitely.
knocking
All
on
the
your
very
door
best.
all the
No,
time
no,
कि
no,
मुझे
all the very
advice.
best. Mhm.
Lekin to all our audience, if you have any questions for later as well, you're watching us on the Women Engineers Pakistan Facebook page, but you can always get in touch with me at ramla.qureshi@womenengineers.pk, and I will be sharing that link in the comments as soon as we finish off. If you want to have an anonymous question, you can share it on our Facebook group, and I will post it from my profile so that you can have an answer without um, people knowing कि सवाल किसने पूछा है.
ठीक है.
Please let us know what you thought about the conversation today. Please let us know what would you like us to change. And also, Saba, I would definitely like to have you for further webinars as well as we move forward.
It's my pleasure. I would love to join.
All right, now I will be signing off now. Hope to see you next month. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Khuda Hafiz.
Hafiz.